The road shouldn't have been there. That was Alex's first thought when he saw the cracked asphalt curling into the fog like the tail of a snake. His GPS had frozen 10 miles back, the screen stuck on a blue arrow pointing nowhere. The highway had disappeared behind him, swallowed by pine trees standing like tall, silent guards. And then this road appeared narrow, dark, almost daring him to take it. He told himself it was curiosity. Maybe it was the journalist in him, always chasing the weird story, always hungry for the unusual. But truthfully, there was something else, a pull, like a cold hand pressing between his shoulder blades, guiding him forward. The air grew heavier the further he drove. The silence was thick, broken only by the crunch of his tires and the occasional creak of his old car. No birds. No wind, just stillness. He glanced at the clock on his dashboard. 4:12 p.m. The pale sun looked like it was sinking already, bleeding orange light through the trees. And then the village appeared. At first glance, it looked normal, quaint even. Houses with peeling paint, porches sagging under the weight of years, laundry lines strung across backyards with clothes flapping weakly in the air. But the cars parked along the street stopped him cold. Old Chevrolets, Fords, and Volgas, their chrome bumpers shining faintly. All of them looked like they'd rolled straight out of a museum. He pulled up to the gas station first. Its rusted sign read, "Benzin minus 1,950 in faded Cyrillic. The pumps were still manual, the kind with glass globes on top. Alex cut the engine, but the silence that followed wasn't comforting. It was suffocating. A man stepped out of the station. He wore coveralls smeared with oil, his hair slicked back, a cigarette dangling from his lips. His face was weathered, but strangely untouched by time. Alex thought he could have walked straight out of a black and white photograph. The man stared for a long while, smoke curling from his mouth, before he finally said in a flat voice, "You shouldn't be here." Alex managed a nervous laugh. "Yeah, I kind of got lost. Place isn't on any of my maps." The man's eyes flicked to the car, then back to Alex. His expression didn't change. "Lost," he repeated, like the word had a different meaning here. Something about his tone unsettled Alex. He looked past the man, down the main street of the village. People were there. Women in floral dresses hanging laundry, children skipping rope, an old man pushing a bicycle with rusted spokes. They all looked right, but also wrong. Too clean, too staged. And every single head turned, every pair of eyes locking on him the moment he looked at them. Alex's throat went dry. "Listen," the man said, crushing his cigarette under his boot. His voice dropped, almost a whisper. "Turn around. Drive away. Don't stop again. Because once you go past this road..." He trailed off, shaking his head. Alex wanted to ask what that meant. Wanted to laugh it off as some backwoods superstition. But before he could speak, he heard it. A faint tune drifting through the village, scratchy and broken, like an old record player grinding out its last breath. It was a voice, singing. A woman's voice. And the words were in Russian. But Alex didn't need to understand them to feel the chill creeping up his spine. The song was old. Too old. He looked down at his car's clock again. Still 4:12. The hands hadn't moved. The man at the station sighed, and for the first time, Alex saw fear in his eyes. "Go," the man whispered. "Before it's too late." Alex didn't turn back. Maybe he should have. Maybe if he had listened to the mechanic's warning and taken the cracked road back into the woods, things would have ended differently. But curiosity, that cruel little voice inside him, pushed him forward. He eased the car down the main street. The villagers' eyes followed him, unblinking, like mannequins come to life. The woman hanging clothes stopped mid-motion, the sheet fluttering in her hands. A little girl clutching a jump rope froze with it dangling at her side. They weren't hostile exactly, but they weren't welcoming either. The song grew louder. That same warbling, broken record melody. He spotted the source. A gramophone sitting in the middle of the street, balanced on a wooden stool, spinning a black disc under the dull glow of the setting sun. No one stood near it. The sound just poured out, scratching through the thick air. He slowed the car. His eyes kept darting to the people, but they didn't move, not even a twitch. Just staring, watching. Finally, he parked near what looked like a general store. The sign above the door was painted in bold red letters, "Groceries." As he stepped out, his shoes hit the ground with a crunch that seemed too loud, like the village itself was amplifying the sound. He swallowed hard, forcing a smile at the nearest face, a middle-aged woman with a scarf tied neatly around her head. "Evening," Alex said, raising a hand. His voice cracked in the silence. The woman didn't answer, didn't even blink. Her eyes, pale blue and glassy, held his until he had to look away. Inside the store, the air was stale. Rows of canned goods lined the shelves, labels faded, written in old Cyrillic fonts. He picked one up, beans, expiration date 1951. He set it back down carefully, his stomach knotting tighter with every detail. Behind the counter stood a man in a white apron. His smile was too wide, stretched across his face like it had been painted on. The man said in a cheerful, sing-song voice, "Welcome." Alex cleared his throat. Do you speak English?" The man's grin didn't falter. "Welcome?" The gramophone outside popped and crackled as the record looped back to the beginning. That same woman's voice, singing of something lost, something mournful. Alex felt the hairs on the back of his neck rise. He bought nothing. He couldn't. His hands shook too much to reach for his wallet. Instead, he muttered a quick thank you and backed out of the store. When he stepped outside, the street had changed. The villagers were gone. Every single one of them. The little girl, the old man with the bicycle, the women at the laundry lines. Vanished. But the gramophone still played. And then he saw it. A shadow at the very edge of the street. Tall, wrong in its proportions, like it had been drawn by someone who didn't quite understand how people were supposed to look. It stretched long against the cobblestones, even though the sun had nearly disappeared. Alex blinked, and the shadow twitched. Not moved, twitched, like a film skipping frames. His breath caught. The gramophone needle scraped loudly, the record stuttering. And for just a second, the song warped into something else. Not music, not a voice. A whisper. He couldn't make out the words, but he felt them inside his skull. "You shouldn't be here." The same words the mechanic had said. Alex stumbled back into his car, slammed the door, and locked it. His heart hammered so hard, he thought the villagers, or whatever they were, might hear it. He gripped the wheel until his knuckles went white. But when he looked at the clock on the dashboard, it still read the same. 4:12 p.m., and this time he realized it would never change.